Welcome to Retail's Most Wanted, the podcast that examines the latest issues related to organized retail crime and how retailers and policymakers are fighting back against today's organized crime syndicates. I'm your host, Marty Carpenter, and coming up on today's show, I'm joined by Ari Silke. He's the Chief Operating Officer at the Transportation Equipment Network. Now, Ari recently joined TEN from Amazon Freight and is focused on modernizing how TEN supports carriers, fleets, and the broader cargo theft response ecosystem. That conversation is coming up right after this word from our sponsor. Retail's Most Wanted is brought to you in partnership with LVT, securing physical environments through intelligent automation. Learn more at lvt.com. That's lvt.com. Ari, thanks for being on the show. What drew you to TEN, and what problem are you most excited to solve in your role as COO?
Well, thanks for having me on the show, Marty. Really excited to be here. And thank you for the question. So the opportunity I see here at TEN is to solve a really important customer problem of getting assets to carriers, both large and small, to solve their needs of their shippers downstream. And having the right capacity at the right time with the right level of reliability is how transportation happens efficiently and quickly and scales. And TEN is at an interesting intersection point of its evolution. It is already at pretty large scale, 80,000 trailers in our fleet, 45 maintenance shops, 130 and growing mobile maintenance trucks that can go across any geography that we need them to maintain our fleet and also maintain any fleet that needs proper repair and maintenance and preventative maintenance, et cetera. So I'm really excited to be here to help TEN go to the next stage of growth and put in systematic processes and technology that will enable a whole host of different value propositions going forward.
Those are some pretty big numbers. As COO, what principles are guiding your approach to leading and growing the company then?
Absolutely. Having been through some pretty high growth companies throughout my career, I think it's super important to both solve the problem of today or this afternoon or next hour, but at the same time, be looking forward to how do we solve this 6 months and 18 months out? How do you position the company, the infrastructure, the technology, and really the culture of the company to be ready to scale? And that requires thinking a few steps ahead, making sure we have repeatable processes, and also kind of teaching and learning with the team the right model that enables the structure to be able to grow extremely quickly.
So does that make any change to like the core mission? What is your core mission today, and what do you want it to be 12 or 24 months down the road?
Yeah, I think it will be the same. Our core mission is to serve the needs of our customers always. And our customers are carriers that need equipment of various different types. We have dry vans, we have refrigerated vans, we have flatbeds, we have some pups in our fleet as well. And so go where our customers need them. That will never change. How we get there and what scale we get there is what will change. And ensuring that we have all of the systematic processes and core technology to enable an outstanding customer experience, which means reliability, it means uptime, it means having all types of assets available whenever our customers need them so they can serve the needs of the shippers, and the shippers can serve the needs of the downstream end customer, often delivering packages or other goods into the supply chain.
Yeah, we're spending a lot of time in the next several episodes focusing on cargo theft. Cargo theft seems to be something that's evolving quickly. So what trends are you seeing right now, and what should shippers and carriers be paying close attention to?
Yes, cargo theft is unfortunately a growing problem across lots of geographies. More dramatically, you see it in California, but you also see it really across the network. It is a problem that has multiple different components of challenges. I've been involved in kind of some cross-organizational groups on this over the last few years in various different roles, including an event I did in partnership with the University of Minnesota last fall, where we brought together kind of a conglomeration of different companies, other transportation companies. We had the railroad there. We had some law enforcement involved. It was a really good session because it showed kind of the power of collaboration. I think cargo theft is a problem that can be curbed and can be reduced but not by any one individual, any one entity, or any one industry, really. I think it's going to take a whole conglomeration of industries from the law enforcement side, the technology side, to really the asset and transportation side on operations to really get ahead of some of the theft that is happening in the industry, and also arm the network with better technology in the field and within the assets to alert and either see thefts coming, see potential thefts coming. And I think the technology, and especially powered by AI over the last 12 months, is making this much more possible than it would have been a few years ago. And so it'll be a combination of an evolution of sensors and back-end AI technology that I think will position the industry to make progress, but at the same time, the law enforcement and legislative side of getting the appropriate enforcement in place that will better deter bad actors from getting in this position in the first place.
Yeah, a lot of things that you need to weave together. Where do you see the biggest gaps today between, say, reporting, response, and recovery? And how can 10 help close those gaps?
Yeah, if you think about how to prevent the next theft, it's actually a challenging problem because you don't know where it will happen, you don't know how it will happen, you don't know what will be targeted and what will not be targeted. And so you need better input signals to detect what's happening quickly to enable either something that will deter it or something that will stop it, or at least something that will recover it. And so I'd say at a very basic level, tracking technology, which is pretty ubiquitous across most trailer fleets, is a foundational component. So you know where your assets are at all time, and you know if they're not in an appropriate location. And many companies will create geofences and alerts if a trailer is in, say, in a location it shouldn't be in, and that at least gives you a signal that something is potentially off track. Doesn't determine something is wrong, but something is potentially off track. But I think the evolution of that is how do you detect based on location? You can also detect based on camera technology. You can detect based on different sensor technology. And the faster that you can detect and also react, that gives you the opportunity to, potentially stop the theft from happening or a better chance of recovering it. I think the other component is the engagement with law enforcement. If you have ingredients of a theft, do you have enough information to actually bring in law enforcement to help, prevent or apprehend what's happening in real time? And I think different companies are at various stages of that evolution. I think the interesting, I would call it an opportunity for 10 to help in this ecosystem, is by having more and more technology inside of our trailer network that can see some of these things coming, some of the detection signals, and they're working very closely with our trailer leasing partners that are using our assets to tie these signals into their network, and potentially even with law enforcement as well, to bring that cycle time faster. So the faster you can go from detection to determining there's something wrong to actually taking action and potentially bringing law enforcement, the higher probability will be of preventing that theft, stopping that theft, or at least recovering those loads. So I think there is tremendous opportunity. I think everybody, the law enforcement, the carriers, the equipment providers, all play a part of this.
Yeah, with so many of those parties together and then adding technology to it, it's more variables, it's more data. How do you think about improving information sharing across the ecosystem while still protecting sensitive data?
Yeah, it's a challenging part of the puzzle. Theft is a problem that almost everyone has. It's not a problem that everyone wants to have, and often is not one that people want to necessarily talk about, which again was a great benefit of this forum we did last year at the university to really kind of bring people together to talk about it. I think it's going to be a balance of sharing information for a specific purpose to try to help bend the curve on theft versus kind of everybody opening their books and sharing everything that they have about load information, et cetera. So I don't think that it's really been solved yet in the industry, but I do think sharing is the beginning of the puzzle. And I would say I've definitely seen people more open to sharing than they would have been in the past.
Yeah, thinking more along the lines of adding technology or other signals that you can put into the trucks to better track your fleet. What role should real-time visibility and analytics play in prevention and response?
They can play a huge role because if you have visibility, you're kind of eyes in the skies of what's happening. And, criminals bad actors are pretty sophisticated in their tactics. But if you can see what's going on, I think you have a reasonable chance of predicting what's happening. Most transportation operations is a pretty consistent standard work of how a truck behaves, how a load gets loaded or unloaded, how it will interact in the yard. And when you see anomalies for that, that's the time to inspect and ensure that that is not a bad anomaly. It's something different in your operations. And so with that, the more you have visibility via cameras and other sensors, either in your yard or in the trailer itself, and with the power of AI, you can look for anomaly detection much faster than had been possible in the past. And so I do think we're kind of on the cusp of being able to break through some opportunities to better detect and then therefore stop or deter theft before it really happens.
Okay, so in a perfect world, what does a fast and effective cargo theft response look like? And what changes are needed to get closer to that standard?
Full visibility of a load. And so if you can have, I'm going to use the eye in the sky type terminology, if you can have visibility end to end from when a trailer is loaded until a trailer is unloaded, including the routes in between that, you should be able to detect if anything is going abnormally. It's a little bit hard to achieve, but there are technologies out there where you can have much better visibility. If you have visibility to what's happening, you can potentially stop it. And keep in mind, often these bad actors, there's good actors in the middle of the bad actor. Like a bad actor may send a good driver to a location they think they're supposed to drop it off on, but they're actually got wrong information and then it was being stolen. And so the driver might actually not be the bad actor. They might be kind of someone in the middle of it. But if you know that your load's supposed to go from A to B and you have visibility that it went to C and it stopped there and it's not a authorized location, that's a trigger. And if you can get that in fast enough real time and you have the right partnership with law enforcement and otherwise, you could potentially stop that from happening, or at a minimum, notify the driver that, no, that's not your authorized stop. Keep going. And again, they might, in some cases, not be aware of what's actually happening. And so I think the technology, I don't believe there's a massive, new invention technology that has to be created to do this. It's more a matter of utilizing tools and sensors that are available today and bringing them together to create this ecosystem.
So it's like early detection, rapid response, and clear communication. It seems like the fundamentals are the same, but new technologies are going to make that more and more realistic of a goal.
Yes, I agree.
All right, I'll get you out of here on this one. What should members and partners expect from 10 in the near term, and how can they plug in to support this work?
I think from 10, you're going to see a growing base of trailers and a growing base of maintenance shops. And with in-house maintenance shops, we're able to respond very fast to any incidents, flat tire, or anything that's going on. I actually just came from our location in Atlanta last night. I'm in our location in Nashville today. We have a 24/7 call center that takes calls around the clock for any incidents that happen in a trailer, and we get things back on the road really quickly. So you're going to see continued really strong customer service, reliability, and uptime from a fleet that's only going to get bigger and a network that's only going to get bigger. And then over time, you're going to see more and more technology infused in our network to enable lots of different applications that provide tremendous value to our customers.
Ari, thank you so much for your work fighting back against organized crime, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
That's it for this episode of Retail's Most Wanted. Thanks to our presenting sponsor, LVT. And don't forget to hit that subscribe or follow button so you can catch each new episode. We drop a new one every 2 weeks. You can also follow us on X, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thanks so much for being with us, everyone. And as always, keep up the good fight.